Not at all.
Well, hello everyone. It is I, the real Randy Chavez, and I am coming at you today with a Omi is my homie episode number 51. Shout out to my co-host Crypto Rain and Dr. Stuff. Everyone say hello, Daffy. Hello, Daffy. Commenting, liking, and subscribing is a free way to help support the channel. Y'all know what to do, and smash that like button. We have a bit to go over today. We've got announcements from Akomi, from VeVe, stuff that's happening in the world, things that people are talking about with what David should and should not do, stuff that Mr. MC1 might be pushing for. So, gentlemen, how are y'all today?
Good.
Amazing.
Good.
I was just telling Crypto Rain, I was watching Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey Part 2. They made a Part 2, and I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty good. It holds up. You get some new characters, you get some crazy stuff. Unfortunately, we won't be getting any of those characters over on VeVe. We have the original Winnie the Pooh, although we don't have Tigger or Rabbit or Eeyore or anything like that. So maybe one day we can get those guys. Let's move on here.
The blood and honey stuff sounds fun. I want to see, Winnie the Pooh, meets like Predator or something.
They do have a. Sorry, go ahead.
I think we got some feedback from Doc's.
Yeah, guys. Sorry, hold on just a sec.
Copy. That's what that was. Shout out to everyone here in the comments, being first and second and respecting the Omi stuff. So yeah, they were speaking of. You said Predator. I don't know if they do a Winnie the Pooh versus Predator, but there is a Predator versus Spider-Man that just came out on Wednesday, and that is really good. I was like, oh my god, this is great. So that's one of those things I would definitely recommend. I don't often recommend a lot of these comics because half of them are but this one was definitely worth the read. Definitely worth it. So
I'm gonna have to check that out on V. I didn't even realize that had released. That sounds cool.
Yeah, I don't know if it's even one of the things that they advertised because it wasn't like a drop on VeVe. It was like one of the stuff that they had for VeVe Comics on Wednesday. So I just got the comment, but it was just like, oh, it's so good. It was so I can't. It was gnarly too. It was like I don't know what the rating on this is, but I don't think it was like made E for everyone. I would say like 11 and up. Like I don't know if like a 7 or 8 year old should be like I don't know. I guess it depends on the 7 or 8 year old. I don't know what they're like. But yeah, it was like, ooh, it was awesome. Anywho, y'all should go grab that. I don't know what it is in the app. In the app, people might be selling it for like, 5 or 6. You might be able to get $1 or $2 off of it. But at that point, I would just get the actual NFT version. You pay a couple dollars more, and maybe you get an ultra or a secret rare.
What's it called?
Predator versus Spider-Man #1, and they put Predator first in there. It's not Spider-Man versus Predator. Predator versus Spider-Man #1, and Doc's going. He's going to get it. Go, SpongeBob! Go get it! Oh, what's up, Booth? How's it going? Talking about Omi. Bill Gardner saying what up. Yeah, we've had a little bit of a downturn today, just in crypto in general. You see, for the market cap, towards the last little bit, it just had a little bit of a spike down. I'm not 100% sure why. I think because you have the over in the macro, you have India's. I don't know. Do they have a prime minister or a president? Or Pakistan? Let me see what they went over here. They had a tweet before saying that India is going to attack Pakistan's, I don't know, places over in Pakistan. So that might get a couple of people in the markets a little bit worried. So, we'll see. Omi's down about 4.1% on the day. We've got about 1.7 million in volume. The volume doesn't really change that much from day to day. Every now and then at a random hour, it might be like 1.1 million, but for the most part, each day, it's usually 1.1 to 2 million, usually on the mid to upper end of that. What's up, everybody? Hope y'all are doing well. Yeah, so on Friday, India and Pakistan, they did exchange fire, and today the president of Pakistan said that India plans on attacking them in the next 24 hours. is this something that you guys think might affect the overall markets, or is it just like it's far enough away from the U.S. and they're not? I mean, India is a huge country, and I guess so is Pakistan, but it's I don't know how they're. I wouldn't say like they're crazy main players on the board, and it doesn't look like it'll affect us. But again, markets tend to dislike instability, so I just want to know your thoughts on it.
Good question. Probably it will get resolved, right? Like it does impact the markets if it escalates, and things could. But under Donald Trump, like, people are scared of the U.S. and scared of the major superpower is a good thing. So if the U.S. gets involved and says, you guys better calm it down, it's highly likely to calm down.
That's a good point. I can see that. I see that. Doc, while you were over there, did you just get the Predator vs. Spider-Man? I can't wait for you to read that.
Yeah,
oh,
dude.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, actually, that really, like, I love it. Like, I like that.
Yeah.
I went on a kick where, like, I was watching all of this series of movies. Like, I feel like there was a ton of movies that I'd only seen like one or two of whatever, if it's a trilogy or like more than that, right? And so, like, I watched all of the Aliens movies, the Predators movies, and so then I was like, I mean, especially after Aliens versus Avengers, right? And so then, anyways, the Predator versus Spider-Man, I'm like, yeah, like I got to get that. So
I'm looking to see if it tells me how many total copies they'll make of it. Because it's still for sale, right? So
3,000, I think, isn't that, or 1,000? Is it 1,000?
1,000.
Yeah, 1,000.
It's 1,000. Yeah.
All of the ones on VeVe Comics, they're only 1,000 that they make.
Yeah, there's only 1,000 of those, and I'm so curious on what they're doing on the digital read only comics, because if they have 34,000 signups from that since last year. And even if like 3%, like 97% of people, let's say that they signed up and they don't do anything with it, you still got like 1,000 people each week getting the digital read only stuff. Maybe they think like the NFTs are a dirty word and they don't want to, read that, but they'll read the other ones. So curious on how much they're making on there. I'm curious when Aliens vs. Avengers 4 release date is. It doesn't say, because we have the third one that dropped like a little while ago. And the fourth one, I don't think we have a date for. Yeah, we don't. Oh, I guess May 19th is the final cutoff date, but I don't know when they hit the shelves. Oh, well, we shall see. I'll keep y'all posted with that. So with so I do have an announcement that I'll officially announce on whenever May 4th is. That's Sunday. There is going to be something that Turtle Golf is sponsoring. I am going to be making the announcement with VeVe Magic. It is going to be pretty cool. So I'll tell you guys after, but tune in on Sunday. I don't mean to plug other stuff I'm on here, but he just reminded me of it. So yeah, now that we have the first partner statue bought by Meta V John, he had bought it for about 1,500, and I had a couple of people ask me why. And my thoughts on that were, yes, he could have gotten a normal partner statue for 1,200.
We got massive feedback, Doc. I think it's from something feeding out somebody's speaker and then into the mic.
Is that better? Yeah, that seems better.
Yeah.
So the people were asking why pay 1,500 something in OMI when you could pay just 1,200 something in gems, and I said, well, at that now I don't know if I would do that, but at the time there was no partner statue that had ever been bought with OMI, so this is the first one, and the first of anything usually tends to have a little bit of a multiple for it. So for that, I thought it was worth it. If you're just talking about the multiple for the first partner statue ever bought with OMI, it was historic. It was something that I really enjoyed. I don't know how much of a multiple that gets. I think that most people might appreciate it, but they won't pay for it. But I do think there's 5 or so people that will probably pay a premium for that. Not even just in the future, but right now, like from the people that are here, that'll appreciate it enough to pay a large multiple for it. And then in the future, when it pops off, I think is going to get a great number for it. But that's just my opinions. Do you guys think that, hey, why would you do that when you could just keep the OMI? Surely OMI's going to outperform. Do you guys see that historical significance, or am I kind of overvaluing that?
I wouldn't have done it. No way. I wouldn't part with my OMI at anywhere near these prices, especially at a higher valuation. Hell no. But a lot of recency bias. People think OMI is just like has been doing nothing but going down. Why not part with it? And so like our emotions tell us to part with OMI at the wrong time. And if you listen to it, you'll be like, now probably the person who bought it, they knew they were paying premium and stuff, and they just wanted to see the transaction happen so it could benefit OMI in the future. So probably they had a long-term view. This will actually push it through that like people will see this transaction. Kind of like buying the first pizza with Bitcoin. And it's like, look, I bought pizza with Bitcoin. Later, they'll be like, man, that ended up being way more expensive than I ever could have realized. At the same point, it proved the value of it. So, like, it's cool that they did that. That's my thought.
What about you, Doc?
Yeah, no, the thing is, I mean, we talk about like, I wouldn't part with my OMI, but like someone could have just had the money, right? And then just bought the OMI and did it right then. And maybe they already have like a bag of OMI, you know? And so, but like, it's different for everyone, everyone's situation. But like, I personally think that it is going to have some significance. If VeVe and like the OMI token do well, which I believe it is, right? That's why we have this OMI is my OMI show every week, right? Then there are going to be things like that aren't very meaningful, right? Like, in fact, you look at like Bitcoin and Satoshis, and like some of those super early Satoshis are worth a lot of money. People want those, right? Like, because of these early Bitcoin Satoshis like out there. Like, and I think that this is going to be something like that, a historical significance of like the first partner statue bought with OMI. I think that will have a niche for certain collectors that want to flex that, right? And be like, this is the first thing. But again, both VeVe and the OMI token have to be meaningful. So it's a bigger risk, but if it pays off, I think that it could actually hold several multiples above, you know, what he purchased it for sure.
Agreed. Ernie Mal is saying that this will be seen as a turning point month, I believe, for OMI token. I think it historically will look very kindly on the beginning of this year with the release of VeVeverse, the release of OMI to NFT. You have the release of that affiliate marketing program. And then they also have the VeVeverse mobile. They just made a video about that today. I think they were a little kind of loose with the definition of when we would get that. I thought we were supposed to get it end of March, and we didn't because one of those updates that we had for the VeVe app was not good. So it was all hands on deck. They had to focus on fixing that, which they did in a very timely manner. And then said it'll just be delayed a month. Cool. You know, we'll get it at the end of April. And now at the end of April, they had released a video just today saying that, hey, it's coming. We're just going to get a couple of beta testers in there first, which is fine. Like I don't want them to release a broken product. And it is releasing. They didn't give us a timeline on that though. But yeah, something's got to give. And even though Ben's done a very good job at getting Crypto News to interview him, at getting Forbes to interview him, this seems like a pretty pivotal moment, and they have not gotten a kind of major press release or article to cover it. Do you think something like that is needed? Do you think something like that they should wait for it until NFTs are a little bit more popular? What are you guys' thoughts?
So before the wave comes, trying to get traction is like, before a wave comes, there's almost like this little thing that pulls you backwards, and trying to swim hard to that is like, it will wear you out, right? And so like, they could do all the marketing they wanted. They could spend $50 million right now, and they'd get a little bit of momentum out. That wave is coming though. And that wave is just going to like pick them up and throw them forward. So why spend a lot of time on that? Like, sure, could they do that? Great. What would it do? Maybe have the tiniest impact on the token, because the fundamental things are going to take this token way forward when this digital collectibles narrative or metaverse narrative hits, because it's in both now. And it's well positioned that when it hits, it is going to explode. And look, so many people, like I love it. Wes jumps on, like usually the first thing is like, I respect your guys' courage to talk about Omi every week. It's not courage. I know what's going to happen with Omi. Like, I don't care that people don't believe it yet. They'll find out that they just didn't understand these things. I've been doing this stuff for 25 years. This is what I do. This is what I know. I don't think this is going to happen. I know this is going to happen unless there's like World War III or massive nuclear things or crypto doesn't run at all. So like there is a chance it doesn't happen, but the odds are stacked so well that Omi's going to have this massive run. Like, I'm not taking the risk. The people that are taking the risk are the ones that are arguing the opposite side from me. And so like I'm arguing the 97% chance to win and they're arguing the 3%. They just don't realize it. So like Omi is going to be massive. And will it line up this month? I hope Ernie's right on that. Possibly. Like, he's right on the fundamental shift. Like, the use case is getting stronger and stronger, and that is a big deal. But really, it'll all run when the narrative hits. I remember when I was talking about blockchain gaming, I was talking about a project called Myria a year and a half ago. And all these people are jumping in. Like, it was on my Wednesday buy, wait, or sell videos, and they're jumping in. They're like, nothing's going to happen with Myria until it has a super successful game. And I said, no, all that has to happen is the blockchain narrative hits, and Myria will be picked up and thrown forward. Guess what happened like 2 weeks later? Blockchain gaming narrative hits. Myria goes 15x. Myria did not release a single game. Myria didn't do anything new. Everything was the same, just blockchain gaming narrative hit in the bear market, and it went 15x. Myria didn't do that. The narrative did that. They were just well positioned in the narrative. Omi is so well positioned in the blockchain, like digital collectibles narrative. They are the major player. They have the major brands. So when this narrative hits, like, they couldn't stop it if they wanted to at that point. It'll go crazy.
Yeah, Rain, I remember that. I remember specifically you talking about Myria and talking about that and how people were talking crap on it, and then like it pumped so massively, and it's like, what do you do? Right? You can only say what you believe, and you're like, this is my experience and this is what I do, and I mean, this is my belief, right? We can't say for certain that it's for sure going to happen, right? But you can say, hey, I've got a pretty good feeling that this is what is going to be. Sorry, I'm getting some sort of freaking
It's the bat signal. Your city needs you.
Sounds like a WhatsApp ping or something.
No, it's Discord. It's just like blowing up, but like I don't know from what, like what.
You might just put it on streamer mode, which I just keep my Discord on streamer mode all the time because I hate the notifications.
How do you do that?
They make it a pain because they love to get you with a notification, but you have to go to the user settings button in the lower left.
Yeah. And
then scroll down to streamer mode, which they kind of hide.
Yep, I see it.
And then enable streamer mode. And then anytime you try to change things, they're like, you got to turn off, streamer mode in order to do that because they want to hit you with a notification. So you're always looking at Discord.
Or you could just hit on your settings on your phone, mute all notifications, but then you won't get any notifications.
Well, I have disabled sounds, guys. All sound effects will be disabled. That's all I need.
That's the only thing I was able to do because I think I disabled anything. Then I would get added into some chat I wasn't even part of. And I'll send bing, bing, bing. And I will not live my life with notifications hitting all the time. Like, you'll notice if you text me or call me, you may not hear back from me for a while. It's because it's on silent all the time. Like, I just didn't see it. Why? Because I don't need notifications like running my life anymore. I used to have to worry about that.
I don't know if you ever like converse with any like Gen Z or like younger millennials. They will straight up think you're mad at them. They will have anxiety about it.
I know.
It's funny, Rain, like that. I used to be like so quick to respond to people. Like it was like this thing of pride, right? I was like, oh, people would text me and I text them like right back, right? And I don't know what changed, but now I'm just like, I'll probably answer that later. I've gotten bad sometimes, and like sometimes it's like too bad where I'm like I won't respond for days. I'm like and then I'm like at that point, like because it's someone I actually really care about, and I'm like I should have responded earlier. My bad. And then I respond and say that, but. Man, I was so high strung. Like when I would respond to everyone all the time, that's terrible. Like it wasn't setting boundaries. You know what I mean? Like I was putting everyone else right in their time ahead of my time, and that is definitely changing. That's definitely changing.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes it's like not your fault. You'll be in the middle of responding, and then you'll get a phone call, and then the phone call takes you out of like your rhythm, and then you forget. Like you think you already responded. But then, like the next time they text, you have your response from last time. It's like, oh no, I never sent this, and then it's awkward. But yeah,
I've done that too. Welcome to the ADHD world. And I do have massive ADHD. Yeah, so it's like the notifications. I just can't do that. Some people can. It doesn't disturb them. For me, like when I had a job, I had to keep the notifications on. I don't anymore. I set timers so that this show, like in some other important things, or when I have a meeting, I set a timer and that's it. Those are the only notifications I do.
Yeah, I used to keep everything in my head, and then after a while, I was like, I can't do this anymore. And then I broke out now everything's in my calendar, and it looks like Michael J. Fox just went crazy in there. Speaking of, yeah, sometimes like I text her and I'll be like, "Hey, I need a good date and time for when you want to meet this person," and then he doesn't text me back. Like, oh man, you're definitely having fun in that other country you're in right now. Anyway, there was a interview that I did with Dr. Prophet the other day. It was kind of impromptu, and I had people asking where it was. So right now, it's the second half of a stream that I did the other day called The Last Seat number 7. I had like 90 minutes of that, and then Dr. Prophet came on like as soon as the girls went off, and then I just haven't separated it. I think I don't know if I can clip it or download it, but I have to do that. So that's there. Anywho, when we got to, we're talking about releasing a couple of things, such as articles and stuff. After you guys answered that got me thinking about what other things that they could do specifically for the OMI token. Now, obviously, Ben is CEO of VeVe, not a Comey. That is David, though. Trump announced the other day that you will get to have dinner with him if you are in the top 250 Trump token holders. Price skyrocketed, and I think people are going to keep it just in case he does it like every year or every half a year or quarter, whatever. I feel like this is something that might be beneficial. I don't know what the cost would be if David were to say, hey, the top 100 token holders or the top 50 can have dinner with me at a certain event. How would you guys feel about that?
Yes.
But knowing that it's going to take time away from David doing what he does best, which is talking with licensors and talking with the
say once a year at New York Comic Con. Smart idea. It's once a year commitment. There's some expense with it. The token will then do even better. It's going to do well anyway. That will augment it probably by a lot. Why? Because the community loves David Yu. He is so fucking cool. I don't know how much he appreciates swearing, but he is cool. Like, such a cool guy.
I want to do you guys know what like cuteness aggression is?
No.
It's like when you see like a puppy or like kitten, and like I guess your body's like your mind isn't designed to like deal with things that cute, and it doesn't know what to do. So obviously you want to pick them up and pet them, but you kind of want to like squeeze them. And that's, I think, what Lenny does, where he's like petting the bunny too hard. So I feel like people have not cuteness aggression with David, but I feel like they, at least for me, I don't know, when I talked to him. He's like, yeah, I'm just checking out like this Star Wars book, and I wanna talk to him about the Star Wars book he's checking out. I want to talk to him about like the artwork that he has behind him and what he bought and what stuff is going on at Vagabond Games. And I know it's irresponsible for me to, because that would be taking away his time from other stuff. But yeah, I would try to do what I would need to do in order to get that, be in the top 100 holders for Omi. I think I might be though. I think the top 100 wallets, I think you need like 150 million, give or take. Anyway, Doc, what's your thoughts on that?
So let me make sure. Like, should David Yu become one of the top 250 holders of the Trump token? Is that what you're asking?
No. Should David Yu have an announcement like Trump saying the top 100 Omi holders can meet me for dinner like once a year or once a quarter or something like that? Yeah, I agree with Rain. Yep, I think that would be a big deal, because, I mean, it's a way to get access to someone, right? And especially like the bigger VeVe gets, like the harder and harder it's going to be. David Yu's just like not going to be able to come to all of these events. I can see where maybe he comes to one a year, if that, right, at some point. Maybe he just stops altogether, right? Like if VeVe can,
he does have a co-CEO.
Right. Yeah. Like awesome. He has a coach like that could show, like, I mean, Ben could just start going to everything, right?
Well,
and like,
in truth is Ben's handling a lot of stuff, so David Yu can do stuff. Part of what makes it so valuable is David Yu's presence, because everyone, I mean, we love Ben Rose too. He's freaking cool.
He's amazing.
He's like a special guy he is in the collector's icon. And a lot of the collector world hasn't transitioned to digital yet. They will. And he's just so likable, and he really spearheaded this. Like him and Dan, like launching this in 2018, it was before its time. Like nobody was doing this kind of thing. And so like they created this movement. And so like part of what makes it so special is David Yu. I would love it. Like, sure, would I love to see Ben? Hell yeah. Like, I'm so glad as I got to know Ben. Like, they made an amazing hire there. He's so freaking good at this job. So David Yu is like one of a kind, though. Like, part of the reason I believe so much in Comey is David Yu, because he's just so good. Like, he knows this space so well with collecting and what collectors love and want. And having someone with that kind of skill leading the company, just like sometimes companies get disconnected from what, their viewers want or what their audience really needs and stuff. But he's such a collector. He's like a bigger collector than any of us, being at the head of the company and being so like cool natured. He's just so unique. That's where so much of the value is. Yeah.
Like I really do think too, though, like if he's already coming to New York Comic-Con, right? Like if that's something that he wants to do, because like he's going to be out there and like talking with more licensors or artists, or like it's a way for him to meet that, to be like, okay, one of these, during one of those days, we're going to have a dinner and the top, 100 holders or 50 holders or whatever, right, get to meet with me. That's big, man. And there are people who will pay for that access, right? So they'll buy the token just for that, right? And maybe it's like, not only the top 100 like or 50 holders, but like you have to have held it for a certain amount of time, right? Because that way you can kind of take it out of circulation, so that people aren't just buying it right before New York Comic-Con and then selling it, like or it's like you got to have this top holder, and then to meet with me you've got to burn a certain amount of Omi. So you've got to be a top holder and burn some Omi. Ray doesn't like that so much. I'm just throwing out different ideas. I'm just throwing out. Listen, like I mean. There's some people who are just like, they don't like, if they want the access, they'll pay for it, right? Like whatever that means.
Yeah, and sometimes people, they'll pay and they don't even get that. Like I remember when Biden was president, it would cost like $30,000 a plate at a fundraiser for him, and you're not guaranteed a minute with him. Like sometimes you can if he had the right combination of meds that day and he was good, but other times you'd get maybe a minute or two with Kamala, and that's it. Like you pay that much money for a crappy dinner, and you don't even get like that. That is diabolical. So, yeah, people would definitely pay to. And obviously, David's not president of the U.S., but he's definitely in charge of our bags as CEO of Comey.
Yeah.
Oh
the
yeah, outside
VeVe
of partner
logo
stuff.
does have kind of had that utility, which is really cool on the VeVe side. And the truth is, Comey hasn't focused tons on. They've been putting the utility together, and there were some regulatory, let's just say, interference reasons they couldn't focus on it too much. I think those regulatory hurdles are clearing. It's not 100% clear yet, but it's clearing, and it's definitely not so crypto antagonistic like it was. And that's great. And I think you're already seeing VeVe support OMI much more. And I hope they go further in OMI, like, this show. Like, I don't even think David knows who I am, really. And because, like, I'm not even a master collector anymore. Why? Because I've thrown so much of my stuff into OMI because OMI's been more undervalued. I like buying cheap. And as much as VeVe Collectibles are cheap, OMI is so much cheaper relative. So that's where my money goes. That's where I talk to my audience, because I believe in buying low. And when you get a chance to buy really, really, really low, that's what you do. So the VeVe Collectibles are down. OMI is way, 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 way down. Now, back in 2021, OMI was way, way up. What did I talk about? VeVe Collectibles. Why? Because buy low, sell high. And so 2021, I was like, VeVe Collectibles. Oh my gosh. Marvel Comics, #1. Are you crazy? Buy these. Todd McFarlane Batman on the store for 80 gems. Buy this. OMI, missed it, like, don't buy OMI. And then it's come down, and as it's continued to come down, it's like, oh, even better. Oh my gosh, it reached price, even better. But because I don't cover VeVe so much, it's like a lot of the VeVe team, I don't even think really knows who I am, which is fine. Later on, as OMI goes crazy, it's like, yeah. Like, Crypto Raid told me about OMI when it was like it's cheap as it is right now. And they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I took the chance. It's like, yes, that. The undervalued thing, the massively punished in price thing. For me, buying super low is safe, not risky.
Agreed. So I think in order for people to spend, they kind of have to be comfortable. And despite, Israel, Vietnam, India, and South Korea all giving like verbal agreements saying that they're going to sign new trade deals with the US, and kind of see like the edge of these dark clouds like getting closer, and feeling like we're kind of going to be out of this trade war in the next couple months. Hopefully at some point in Q3, it's all over, and quantitative easing and all that. But I saw a TikTok today of this girl that was just like, oh, people saying the economy is getting better because the stock market has recovered a little bit after it was down like 6 or 8%, whatever, and crypto's recovered quite a bit. But her as just a normal, I don't even want to say retail investor, just a normal girl. She was just like, it used to be $1.75, per taco, and now it's like $3.25 per taco. I just paid $10 and changed in order to get 2 tacos and a horchata, and she was like super salty, and it had like 500,000 likes. And everyone down in the comments were just like, people be talking about aliens and stuff. I was like, okay, but I still have to pay rent, and they like don't care. So when I see the news that almost 5.5 million people in the U.S. are in default on federal student loans, and they thought because Biden was in for, Dems were in for so long that they weren't going to have to pay that back, and now they are going to have to pay it back. It's getting hard for me to see where retail eventually goes into crypto, because it doesn't seem like they have a lot of money.
You'll see people get creative when green candles happen. And that creativity will overboom things. You'll see people borrowing from grandma or whatever, like doing stupid stuff they should not do.
Not grandma.
Yeah, and like throwing it all into crypto, like when OMI's at like 3 cents and 5 cents and 10 cents, and they'll be like, oh my gosh, it's so safe. Look at what it's done. And I'll be like, safe was when it was 0.0002. Well, no, it was risky. What if it failed there? Why was OMI really going to fail there? Really, like, it's kind of like in real estate in 2010 in Phoenix, home prices that were 250,000 were down at 50,000. I was like, buy these houses, and they're like, it's so risky. Real estate is terrible. I was like, it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home that's like 6 years old. Sure, the renter shredded the carpets and stuff. It needs like new carpets, and it needs like $5,000 worth of work. So $55,000, and you can rent it for $1,000 a month. Tell me where the risk is. But the prices have just kept going down, and they'll never stop. Well, they'll at least stop at 0. and they'll probably stop way before it. And I don't know if this is the bottom, but it's really damn cheap. Sure enough, those homes flipped around, went to 350,000. They're like, oh, you're a prophet. No. Come on. Like, markets go up and they go down. And when everyone is panicking and they say, oh, it's going to go down for forever, they're wrong. And when they're all excited, it's like, it's going to go up for forever. They're wrong. It doesn't work that way. And so, like, I've been doing this for 25 years. So, like, Omi, totally punished. People look for the last 3 years. Generally, it's gone down and then more and more and more. And because I don't have a magic crystal ball to know where the bottom is, I just keep dollar cost averaging at really low prices. And sometimes it goes even lower, and then I celebrate. Why? Because, wow, I got a chance to buy it at a price I never even thought it would hit. And then at a certain point, it reverses, and it goes really, really high. And it's like, oh, how did you know? Well, because Omi had a good business model that they're bringing plenty of revenues. So, of course, they're going to survive the bear market. And now it's the bull market, and everyone's going crazy over this crypto thing, and billions and trillions of dollars are coming into crypto. And digital collectibles narrative makes sense. So, of course, it was going to hit Omi at some point in that. And it's not magic. You're just playing probabilities. My feeling on the probabilities are 97% chance of success with Omi. And if it succeeds, it goes 20 to 1,000x. If you were at a casino, would you take those odds? Well, yeah, if you understood it. But most people don't understand that that's what their odds are. When it's done nothing but go down for 3 years, they think the odds that it fails are 97%. And the chance that it succeeds are 3% because they look at the last 3 years and say, it's done nothing but go down. And that's recency bias. They just don't understand how these markets work. And that's okay. They're new. Most people in crypto are new to this. And that's why 89% of people lose money or don't make any money. 89%. That's a huge number. 6% make some money. The remaining 5% make incredible money. The remaining 5%, they understand exactly what I'm talking about. And they make millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions, and billions of dollars, depending on how much money they started with.
Doc, your thoughts? I guess just to build on that for a bit. Again, I see all these institutions buying. I see people that have been dollar cost averaging for a while. People that have been stacking for 3+ years. But yeah, I just think it might be harder for retail to buy in this time. They've just been absolutely pummeled by the last, really, I guess, since 2020. But how do you think they're going to get creative, and how do you think retail is going to get in?
You know, it'll be interesting. I don't know if the people who bought at the top who are still holding are going to get creative. Like, I think that they're just going to be like, I have what I have. That's not like, I mean, I think there will be some people who do that, right? Because they understand the project. But like, there's also going to be people who are like, oh, I don't have any money for crypto. But then a token's going to pump like Omi, right? And then they're going to be like, that's when they find money. All of a sudden they find money, you know, like, and they're just like, oh, like, I can borrow some. Look, I remember, what was, I won't mention their name. I probably shouldn't mention their name. But like, on Twitter Spaces, when VeVe stuff was going nuts in like, you know, January of 2022, in January of 2022, VeVe stuff was at that all-time high, basically, right? And I remember someone talking about and being told by people to put stuff on a credit card. To put it on a credit card, right? And it's like, and then, you know, you'll make all this money and you'll be able to pay it off. And I was like, that is the stupidest thing. You never, ever borrow to play like in this world, because you are setting yourself up for massive failure, because it's all emotional. You can't afford for it to go to zero. And the minute that you can't afford for something to go to zero, you're already like fighting a very, very big uphill battle to battle those emotions, right? Because then it drops and you're like, oh my gosh, it dropped. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Is it going to go up? Oh, it dropped again. And then at some point you panic out, right? You panic out, and that's when it's at the bottom. Think about like the people who, think about this. Someone somehow was like, I'm buying Omi at like 008, right? And then it dropped, and then it dropped, and then it dropped, and they couldn't afford to, like, they sold out at some point, right? And then they're just not buying back in So that's one thing. But like, what happens is on the way up, as things are going up, people do that. Just like that example where it's like, hey, everything's crushing it, everyone's making money. You need to put it on a credit card. You'll be able to pay it off. That is what happened that created the freaking Great Depression, right? Is like you have this gilded age where everything, like what happened, like stock markets or stocks kept going up. Go ahead.
So yeah, yes, and when you say Great Depression, you talking about in like the 1920s, or are you talking about like the housing depression crash in 07, 08? Because there's a couple
Great
schools of
Depression.
Okay,
in the 30s. So yes, in the early 30s, what had happened is people started borrowing. Stocks were going up so much that people started getting loans to purchase stock, right? And then this is one of the reasons that all of these banks failed, is because the collateral were these stocks, right? And then people, but it was easy. It was easy in that they were just like, listen, stocks keep going up, and that's also kind of what happened in the Great Recession. It was, instead of stocks, it was real estate, right? But at least in the recession, you had FDIC insurance. Back then, you didn't have insurance, and so when these banks failed, right, like you just lost your money. So even the good borrowers and the good people who just had deposits there, they lost all of their money too. And that was like a big difference, right, between the Great Depression, the Great Recession. But what it was greed, the greed index, right, where people started seeing all of this stuff go up. Banks were saying real estate values never go down. They never go down. They're never going to go down. We're not losing any money on this. Look, the last 10 years, all of the done has gone up, and that's all they're going to continue to do. And what goes up must come down at some point. Like Rain said, these cycles, right? And so where I'm going with all this, like circling back to your original question, how are they going to find the money? The people, they find the money, just like they borrowed money to buy stocks. At some point, like they'll borrow money if they have to, and they'll buy in at the top, like or near the top, and then the risk is so much greater. Because here, listen, okay, you throw in $1,000 in OMI right now, right, and like you're getting a 5 million OMI, right? And it's just like, okay, like, and from here, if it goes up, great, but like if not, it was like $1,000, but like when you're buying $1,000 worth of OMI at 008, right? Like you're not getting near as much. And like, where is it? It's already gone up so much from there, right? That the chances that it's going to go as high or do as much increase as it already has is so low. And so that's where, like, Rain, we talk about these things is you're buying low, and listen, it could go to zero. You have to be prepared for the fact that it could go to zero, but it's a calculated bet. You're doing the analysis and you're saying, listen, I've done the research on the team. I've done the research on the company. I believe that it can hit one of these narratives. Like all of these things have to align. And then you're saying, okay, I feel comfortable with this bet, as opposed to just FOMOing into something because price go up, right?
So there's, I mean, I think he's referencing someone that took out a second mortgage for the house. And I also want to talk about that because it depends on the timeline in which you're talking about. If you're talking about somebody that, like in the 07, 08, like the housing collapse, you had people getting these houses that could not afford them and they did not deserve them, versus somebody going in and taking out a second mortgage, or a buddy of mine that had sold their house recently, has an extra, or had an extra 90K, chucked it into a lot of DevvExchange, OMI, and a little bit of Definity, actually getting a little bit more Definity soon. And I don't think that they're wrong. And Ernie brought up, look at Apple at the beginning. You had one of like the most successful men that we know that we've had on this channel, Jeremy Padower, saying that he bought $20,000 worth of Apple in 2000, sold it for an $8,000 loss in 2002, and by 20 years later in 2022, that would have been worth 14 million. So yeah, on a short, 3-year time schedule, yeah, that was not a great move. But on a long enough timeline with a super successful, innovative company with great leadership, that would have been one of the best investments of a lifetime. So I do think that certain times borrowing can be very beneficial. Obviously, don't do something that you can't pay back, because then you can get into you could ruin your life, and you could ruin people around you's lives. So I understand that.
Yeah.
But
with crypto's so volatile already, it's like borrowing money. The chances that it wrecks you are so high because of what? Doctor of Stuff was saying. So, for example, say it's the bear market and it's a perfect time to buy, or it feels like a perfect time to buy, and I borrow $10K from a credit card. Now I have to make payments on it. What's funny is it's already hard to be patient anyway. What happens when you watch that 10,000 go down to 4,000? You know what they do? They sell. Now they still have payments on the remaining 6,000. Because you don't know if you're actually buying at the bottom. You think you're buying low, and it just makes you have no ability to be patient. Because like on the bear market of 2018 through 2020, I looked like a horrible investor. Over that year, I squeezed my expenses down so much. I was living off of beans and rice and as cheap as I could. And I was making a good amount, and I put in $50,000 a year for 3 years. So I put in $150,000. In like November of 2020, that 150,000 was only 30,000. Imagine if I had borrowed 150,000, it was only 30,000. I'd be freaking out more than I already was. However, from that 30,000, it went 100x from the bottom. Okay, so I made 20x what I had put in, and I was still new to this. There was a lot of mistakes I was making that I don't make anymore. But amazing returns, the kind of returns you can't get anywhere else. And that was still chock full of mistakes. 65% of what I bought went under, and yet I still made 20x from what I put in and 100x from the bottom. Holy shit, where can you do that? But crypto. But had I borrowed that 150,000, I probably wouldn't have been able to have the patience. I would have sold it when it went to 30,000 because my wife would have made me, and I would have gotten absolutely devastatingly wrecked. So you have to buy, like, just increase your income as much as you can. You don't need to be listening to crypto 80 hours a week. Shoot, hopefully you're working your job 80 hours a week. Why? So you can increase your income, decrease your expenses. I still drive an inexpensive car. Why? 2 cycles to have complete life-changing wealth. You think you'll be wealthy with $3 million? Newsflash, if you live in the Philippines, you will be. Not in US, Canada, or Europe. It just starts to be, okay, that's not truly wealthy. And when you get there, you'll find out it's not as much money as you think it is. So you need to roll it again one more time and turn that into real wealth so that you can have passive income. And so you squeeze your expenses as little as possible until you're ready to have that better lifestyle, and increase your income and use that money. Don't borrow. You will not have the ability to be patient if you borrow. You won't. It seems great logically to do it. It will take away your ability to be patient. And it's already hard enough to be patient when you funded it directly and use zero leverage. And that patience alone, that lack of patience, washes out so many people. You introduce leverage into that and you're screwed. Your chance of success are 0.01%.
Well, look, the person who had that second mortgage sold out. They sold out of their own money, like at a loss. At a loss. Why? Because like couldn't afford it. Like they were like, I got to make moves. I got to find, and they started chasing the things that were pumping and stuff, right? And like, look, I hope that like I think that person is an awesome person. Really like him a lot, right? But like, I told that person, I said, I think that's a terrible idea. And I do. And like, even if you can afford it, like there's tiers, right? Getting like putting something on credit card debt with such a super high interest rate, like that is risky. If you can afford it, like why not get a personal loan, right? At least that, right? The interest rate's a lot lower than that, right? And yeah, if you're going to get a second mortgage, it really has to be something that you're just like why? Yeah, like it's just, even for me, like that's a long-term commitment, man. If the second mortgage, that's a 30-year loan. And what happens is at some point you're going to want that money that you're not going to have because you're paying that back, unless you're like, listen, like I believe in this company long-term, like I'm going to make this long-term bet, but like it's just too risky. Like there's too much emotion. There's too many things that can go wrong there. So it's like you can only put in what you can afford to lose. To seriously say, listen, if it all goes to zero tomorrow, I'll be pissed. But it is what it is. I made that bet. I made the analysis, and I got to learn from it. And you just move on, right? But like, I don't don't lose sleep, man. I don't lose sleep over prices dropping. I really don't. I'm just like, it is what it is. I've done the analysis, and it's a waiting game, and we'll see, right? And like, but like, I believe that it's going to perform, and it's going to outperform a lot of the market. There will definitely be tokens that way outperform OMI, but I don't even know if those tokens will be around in 3 years, right? So like, you've got to place your bets like in different areas and things, right, to play that. But like, for me, OMI is such a strong candidate for a very high performing token in the long term, and even in the potential short term here too, right? So, but man, yeah, like I'm Aldrodero. I think I said your name right, but like Aldrodero, yeah, Adrodero. Yeah, I am saying you should never have a second mortgage, take out a second mortgage on your house for OMI or any other loan. Like I wouldn't even recommend it for Bitcoin. I'm sorry, you just don't do it, because again, it's the emotion. Just don't freaking do it, man.
Yeah, if this is your second or third cycle and you have massive monthly income and you're borrowing against your home on a payment you know you can afford, and you can completely let go of if that goes to zero, oh well. Yes. You know how many people fall in that exception? Almost nobody. But if you fall in that, might it work for you? Yeah. If you actually are borrowing the money and you have zero, not zero carousel go away, but it doesn't put you in fear mode if it goes down 90% from what you put in.
It's not most
you
people.
already get the game. You're good. But most people, most everyone does not fall in that category.
And the problem is like, if I say like, okay, so Rain just explained the exception, right?
Yeah.
There's people that are going to listen and they'll be like, I'm the exception.
And they're so wrong.
And they're not. And they're not. Like, the people who are the exception, they're already doing that. Like they understand money, right? Like, so like, that's why I just think, for me, like, it's so much more important to just say, like, look, most people, like, $1,000 is a lot of money for them. $5,000 is a lot of money for them, and sort of borrow that much, right? Like, it can wreck them. It can wreck them. You know what I mean? And so, yes, listen, if you've got 5 houses and you know, you're like, okay, well, I'm going to take a second mortgage out on one of these houses. Okay, it's a small percent of your net worth. You're not going to lose sleep over it. And that's the point, is that you can't have a sum, like whatever the amount is. You can't have an amount that you're like, if this doesn't perform, I'll lose sleep over it. Like, I'll stress about it, because then you're screwed. You've already set yourself up for failure. So that's kind of the point.
Yeah, I hope people don't try that and have to touch that hot stove themselves. You will find out that hot stove will burn you and will set you back so far.
Yeah.
Agreed. I had no part of the reason why I'd be comfortable with that type of thing. I don't have a home to go in and take out a second mortgage on, but borrowing money, why I'd be so comfortable with it for myself is because I know that, well, one, I believe in myself, and where's Ernie's quote here, and I am more than confident in the analysis of the company, of VeVe, of the CEOs, of the mindset of investors, of the mindset of collectors, and I just believe in the vertical integration that they're doing. So you have people that take out mortgages or second mortgages to cash out refinances on their home for like their local pizzeria or their local, mechanic shop, because that's what they own. And, they do okay with it sometimes. And obviously sometimes they shit the bed and they get hurt or they get sick and, stuff happens. But I've worked all my life, specifically the hard times were 2010 through probably 2019, where I don't think there was ever a time where I was working less than like 50 hours. Maybe in the military when I had leave and I wasn't, actively working, but there was not a time where I was working less than 50-ish hours a week. And when I had 2 businesses, 80 to 90 hours a week. So I know I can do that if I needed to again. And a lot of people, which is say, oh yeah, like, if anything, I could just work. But a lot of people have never done that. A lot of people have never worked more than like 40 or 50 hours a week. And a lot of time, and a lot of times, and that, granted, that was in my 20s. A lot of people, if they go to try to make up the losses that they gained because they put it into an investment that was super risky and they lost it all, a lot of people are going to find that they cannot do that, that they can't work more than 50 or 60 hours a week because they're like broken or they're tired, or and just different energy, different strokes for different folks. But also, and I feel like me especially, I romanticize that stuff because I've done it before. Threw in $80,000 on a Pokemon card, threw it all into Omi, and short term, yeah, had positive results on that. But yeah, there is a romantic feeling to that where I forget what the movie was called that Ernie showed me, where I think Matt Damon's playing poker and it says, if you don't put your chips on the table, you are not going to lose it, but you are not going to make much money either. But again, I've told people all the time, do not do what I do, because it is very, very scary. And again, I'm okay with a lot of these risks because I know I can go in and eat shit again for 3 years and 4 years and make it all back up if I were. But again, I'm not really borrowing anything anymore. If someone were to come to me with a great rate, sure, I would. Would I recommend that for others? I would not. So I would say definitely listen to Rain and Doc that are older, smarter, and more experienced than I am. Speaking of older, smarter, and more experienced, I don't know. Do you guys know Scott Colantonio?
No.
Oh, Doc does. So for Rain and other people that do not know him, he's head of sales in New York City for Amazon Ads. He's an ex-Googler, ad tech, startups, marketing investor, longevity, biohacking, really interested in the blockchain. He had posted something the other day, which got me talking about how it's cool to like Omi again, where for the last couple of years, you really got ostracized for liking it. You really got people saying like, yo, y'all be talking about this every week, respect, because you get a lot of hate for it. He goes over and says, Omi is the utility token for VeVe Official and the VeVeverse. At a $59 million market cap, it's one of the most undervalued projects in the space. There's been incredibly bumpy road and plenty to be frustrated about along the way, but you can see that about most projects. All of their competitors have gone out of business, as an example. VeVe has IP from Disney, Marvel, Star Wars, Ubisoft, DC, Lamborghini, Star Trek, Coca-Cola, Maserati, and the list goes on. VeVe creates high-end 3D digital collectibles and sells them in their store. You can also buy and sell in their marketplace. They recently launched their metaverse, and as of April 28th, you'll be able to buy the NFTs using Omi via Stacker World, and the Omi burning will accelerate. Things may not pan out, but projects like this would likely pump towards the last couple of months of the cycle, Q3, Q4. The last month of the cycle might actually be in Q1 of next year, but I'll give him this. Omi has a realistic chance, he says, to 50 to 100x from here, which is why I've been slowly dollar cost averaging at these prices. And I'm sure I'll get plenty of FUD comments, and I completely understand the frustration. I've definitely felt pretty discouraged over the last couple of years as well. I wish the best to all the Omi homies, even the ones who have lost their faith over the years. I'm hopeful we'll see great things by the end of 2025. And there's a buddy of mine that like 2 months ago had about 20 million Omi. He had gotten it at around 007. Got frustrated, hadn't touched it. He hadn't touched it, he hadn't sold. Then like 3 weeks ago, started buying. Got up to 200, then 300 million Omi. Yes. Then got up to 400, and then 500, and now he's at 602 million Omi.
Oh, yes. I love that.
So it seems that, remember in Lord of the Rings episode 2, Two Towers, Gandalf says, I must ride east for now. Look at me at first light on the 5th day. At dawn, look to the east. I will come back to you at the turn of the tide. And now it seems that a lot of people that have just been silent and frustrated, and they're stewing and they're brewing, they're just like, how much lower can it go? And I don't know. I told him a few weeks ago at 0002, pretty much the price that it is right now. We're still at $60 million market cap. It could get cut in half again. You could see it at 29 million. Could go to 00010. And he bought anyway. He did it, and yeah, we went to like I think 000188, and now we're at 0021 again, 22. I think the bottom's in. I've said that before, so it might not be. But it seems that a lot of people, like Mr. MC1, had like next to no OMI for the longest time, and he started buying recently. He bought like at 10 million to get to that, the max MCP points, years back. But now he's been buying a little bit more. Same as Dr. Rolex, same as a lot of other people, a lot of VeVe whales that really hadn't touched OMI, and now they seem to be. So it seems that it's being cool again. And I've said it before, as this takes off, smart money gets in first, and smarter money is here right now. What do you guys think? Is this something that its time has come? Do you think these people are still a little too early, and we still have a little more down to go?
It is hard to tell where the bottom is. Have you ever been swimming in a lake where you reach down and it's really cold and you can't tell quite where the bottom of the lake is? And you're like, I'm there. And then it goes a little bit deeper and you're really struggling to know where the bottom is. That's what the bottom of bear markets and the bottom of the price action feels like. Knowing where the bottom is, sentiment does feel like it's going the other way though. So have we hit the bottom? All I'll say is probably. Kind of like in that lake. Oh, I'm probably at the bottom, but I'm not certain. But sentiment will at some point go completely crazy that that the bottom is definitely in. And by then you're late because when it's gone 10x from here, it's like, oh yeah, the sentiment's definitely turned around. And so has the price. Goodbye, amazing low prices. Now you got to pay 10 times as much for the same prices you could have had at that point where you didn't quite know if it was the bottom, but it's really, really low. And it could go cheaper. Cool. Some people will make that mistake.
I'll share a personal story of DevvE. So I invested in DevvE, the pre-sale, right? Like totally bought in on the what they're doing. And when it launched, it was awesome. It was awesome. But I was like, nope. I'm not selling. I'm holding. And then it dropped to below my price, right? And even though I believed in it, where I wouldn't even sell it at the price that it got to, right? I was like, I believed in it so much. When it got below my entry price, I was like, oh, I can't do it, right? And now it's like 7x from that bottom, right now, right? From where I could have bought in there. And I'm just like, over I ended up buying well above that low, right? Where I still was like, oh, this is a great entry price. But for whatever reason, when it got to that point, it was like, am I off? Am I off on my analysis? And I kind of questioned that, right? And for me, I was like, well, I'm already exposed here. And so I've got some, but then after it went back up and I was like, now at the time there were some things that I didn't know, right? But they've hinted at quite a bit, they've been talking a lot recently about this major partnership that they have. They weren't talking about it when the price was at that low, right? So there's some more information that made me feel comfortable when I bought more a while ago. But anyways, it's funny because I know these concepts and things, and even someone who knows them and talks about them sometimes can still fall for that, where you start to be like, oh, but one of the ones I've never really faltered on is OMI, honestly. I just, and maybe it's because I'm in this project all the time. I'm not in the DevvE Telegram chats all the time. I'm not in the DevvE community as much. Maybe had I been, that would have changed. And it's interesting. But I do agree. That we're very close to the bottom. And I say that because there's just a lot of things in the work that are going to act as catalysts. I did a series of videos last year where I started talking about some of the catalysts that were coming for Bitcoin. When Bitcoin, it was in June or something, that I started talking about all these different catalysts that were happening. There's some, and it's random stuff that most people are like, I don't even know what that is, right? Accounting pronouncements, basically allowing Bitcoin to be accounted for at a mark to market, as opposed to what's the term? We're basically whatever they bought it at, if it dropped, as an intangible asset. It used to be accounted for as an intangible asset. And that's such a pain in the butt for CFOs and controllers to report and to have to explain in their financials why even though on their balance sheet it looks like they made all of these losses because Bitcoin value had dropped, that it was because it had dropped in this value, but now it was worth more than what they bought it at. Like it was too big of a pain for a lot of people to do. And then also that lawsuit, the XRP lawsuit that came about, right? And I was like, listen, like this is a big deal. All these things where I was like, these are catalysts that are going up. And then wait a sec, was that last year? Was it 2 years ago? I think it was like a year and a half ago, like before the ETF was announced. Like, and so that was like how long ago was that? That was in January of 2024.
I don't know. I hadn't kept up with it.
I think it was in January 2024.
2024 was last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was talking about this in 2023. I was talking about the catalysts that were coming for Bitcoin. Anyways, all I'm saying is like there's a lot coming for Bitcoin, and for OMI. I guess not even just Bitcoin, it's crypto in general. Like there's a lot of things here as you have a president and an administration that is very friendly to crypto and is making it a lot more appealing and the sandbox a lot more friendly to play in. There's going to be serious money. I think I just read something. I have to fact check it, but I think that it was like Arizona that just said that they're going to have their own Bitcoin reserve.
Yeah,
right?
They just passed that yesterday.
Yeah. And so what happens when there's states and countries, other countries that are now like, well, we want a Bitcoin reserve too, right? Like people are going to be selling, like that price is going to pump, and the people who are going to be able to hold the Bitcoin and then they're selling it to these countries or these states, they're going to have a lot of money. And historically what's happened is they just roll it into altcoins, right? And they bring it back into that. So, yeah, huge stuff, guys. Like, I mean, that accounting pronouncement that, again, was not really even covered was so massive because now companies can hold it on their balance sheet, and having it mark to market is so much more friendly. And then you have like the OCC, the FDIC, and I don't think the Fed has followed suit yet, but where they basically repealed all of this kind of like non-friendly crypto regulations,
the guidance, right?
Yeah, like the guidance. Yo, Mrs. Rain.
It's been way too long since I had her say hi to everyone.
I feel like I haven't seen Randy for a minute. Or yeah, I guess you're right.
It has been a while. How rude.
She's like, no, I hope I didn't just dox Randy. I forget to not dox people in crypto.
I'm so bad at it. Yeah.
It's all good.
I'm trying to actively be,
Yeah.
more aware.
It's all good, Raxel.
More aware of your nicknames.
She made some crypto purchases the last while.
Ooh.
Yeah, I've made like $1,200. I'm super excited.
My advice to her was don't check. Her advice was what does she do? She checks it like all the time.
I'm like,
I'm like, just set it and forget it. She's like, yeah, but it's done nothing but go up. And it's like, that's not guaranteed to continue. So just like,
there was one day it went back and I was like,
exactly. It messes with your emotions. But if you don't check it, it doesn't mess with your emotions.
It's true.
So I asked her to step in, say hi. I apologize for interrupting, but she had a second. I was like, come here.
I think that everyone's okay with that interruption, Rain.
Yeah, I feel like you're a guest on Mr. Rogers' show. It's like, oh, who do we have here?
It's Raxel Rain.
That was a great show.
Puppets, or was that another person? I don't know. Probably was another person.
Yeah, I don't really have guests. I have Dashy, but that's about it. I don't really have.
Yeah. Not yet. And don't get a wife. Like, even when you make crazy money off of OMI this cycle, don't get a wife yet. Just girlfriends until you learn how to manage that, because so many girls will come after you for your OMI gains. They're like,
I've had a lot of thoughts about that.
I did marry him from his house. So.
She did marry me for my extreme wealth at the time. I was worth negative 70,000 when I met her. And I had a house in a crazy neighborhood they called the War Zone. And, I figured I was single. So I bought a house for $20,000 from the wife of the drug dealer who was now in jail. And was like, what do I care? I'm single. I got guns. I'll fix it up, and like if somebody breaks in, I'll reinforce the doors really well, and I got guns, so they'll stop, and then I met this girl, and I was like, crap. I hadn't, planned on that. So she's like, yeah, that'll work. I was like, all right, she's brave. I'm telling you, brave. Gunshot 3 times a week. So she married me for my house. That's our running joke. She married me for my riches, so I was worth negative $70,000.
And the free entertainment on a Friday night.
Yeah,
with the prostitutes.
What she liked about the house is you could get pharmaceuticals any time of night. For not even too bad of a price. You could have entertainment where they'd come to your place for really cheap prices and entertain you however you wanted. And they're everywhere in that neighborhood, and so adventures galore.
You could watch cops on your front porch.
Yeah.
We lasted like 6 or 8 months.
Well, yeah, we moved out of there. Like once we got it remodeled, and like she didn't love, for some reason, I built this nice fence that that like protected it, so it was like at least a small compound. And then the druggies figured out, oh, cool, I can just throw my needles over that. And for some reason, she didn't love it when her young kid was running around and like playing out there and being like, "Oh, mommy, what's this drug needle? What's this?" She's like, that's a drug needle. So, we decided rent that out and move.
How do you know that wasn't an insulin needle and they didn't need that for life?
True, could have been.
We will never.
Hadn't thought about that.
But I did not.
Baby, it was totally an insulin needle.
I didn't care. I was like, we're done. We're done to go.
So
off we went.
Yeah, she's just a gold digger.
Yeah.
She married me for my house.
It was his gold chains that did it for me.
Yeah. So be careful of those gold diggers. They're trouble.
Yeah.
I used to have gold chains too, but they kept getting caught in my hair. And
I don't have that problem for some reason. I don't know why. Like I try to get it caught in my hair, and it's just hard. Well, she gonna say bye, but thank you for joining us, babe.
Bye, Rexel. So I forget where. Oh yeah, Jason's saying huge point on accounting doc. Love that point.
Yeah, like, and this is the thing about research, right? Like, the more you know about a subject, and you can see. So look, I went and looked back, and yeah, it was 2023. Like that's crazy. But in like July and August and September of 2023, I kept talking about all these catalysts for Bitcoin and how big of a deal it was, and the price pumped substantially. Oh, like those 6 months, like Bitcoin went, right? And then the announcement of that Bitcoin ETF was kind of like that final cherry on the top. But all of the signs were starting to happen before then. But everyone FOMO'd a lot during the Bitcoin ETF, right, where that started to go up more. And I think that's the same thing that like I'm looking at with OMI, right? Is we're seeing a lot of these promises fulfilled, right? Now we have this website stacker. We have OMI to NFT. That was a big promise. We have cash out. Man, I can't even remember all of the. I should have created a list of all of the things that the footer said that were lies. Like that they just were like, well, Comey said this or VeVe said this, and this is a lie, and this is never going to happen. And all they do is they just keep moving the goalposts, right? As VeVe and Comey continue to make good on the promises. But that's the thing is I feel like I'm in the trenches really understanding a lot of this stuff, and most people aren't. And so all of a sudden something like is going to hit with the narrative, and OMI's going to go big, and people are like, how? Of course. Okay, think about this, right? Let's just envision a world in which OMI does pump. Okay, let's let's envision a world. What's that?
I said, envision this world. I love this world. I love it already.
So envision this world in which OMI pumps.
I do have to step out and go, everyone. Lifelong friend. I told him I'd catch a movie with him. It happens to be tonight. So
you see in the Star Wars 20th
I've got an
anniversary
appointment upstairs, but one of those two things is true.
Yeah.
All right, Rain, you go get that
Great
bread.
to see you, Rain.
We'll see you
Love
later.
you, Rain. I love you, babe. Bye.
All right. So back to this world, guys. Imagine a world in which OMI does pump, right? You know what you're going to hear? You're going to hear this. Of course the token would pump. It's tied to some of the largest IP in the world. They've got Disney. They've got Marvel. You can buy all of that stuff with crypto. Of course. Why didn't I? Like, of course, it was there the whole time. Like, that's what you hear. That's what you heard with Bitcoin. Of course, Bitcoin was going to pump. It's got a fixed value, right? Like you can transfer it all over the world. It's got all the properties of money, all of these things, right? Except for the physical, tangible part of it. But like all of the things about money, like of course this is going to make sense, right? Like, but it's all after the fact that it happens, even though the signs were there. And so that's where we keep talking about these calculated bets. Could it go to zero? Yes, it could. But we're seeing so many other things here that the likelihood for me personally is so extremely low that it's like, why wouldn't I want to take that bet? Yeah, you gotta like risk money to make money, man. You honestly, like, I mean, we've been kind of talking about that with some of these comments, but like you said, you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take, right? So like, yep, like you're never going to make great money if you don't take risk. Like that's the bottom line. Even the stock market is risky, right? It's a lower risk in general, which is why there's lower returns. You know, but I look at, like, if you look back at that book, The Big Short, where I mean it's the true story, right, of these different people that just made a freaking killing off the Great Recession. And why? Is because they knew how to see the signs that were there. Everyone had free access to all of that information. Everyone did. And no one got it, right? Even the big smart people, because sometimes they get so blinded by things and they're like, well, this is the way things should work, or this is what's supposed to happen. And they're not looking, they're not doing the research. But the people who do the research and do the work, they see those things, and those are the people who benefit the most from it. So,
great movie. I love how you quoted. Well, I know you quoted Wayne Gretzky with "You miss 100% of shots that don't take," but you've seen The Office, right?
This is one of my favorite sitcoms.
So whenever I see that quote, I think of Michael Scott, because he like quotes the "You miss 100% of the shots you don't take." So sometimes when people quote it, they quote Michael Scott and not Wayne Gretzky. And then obviously Michael Scott being in The Big Short. So love that. So talking about ETFs, so BlackRock has bought a total of 970.9 million worth of Bitcoin. You have U.S. spot ETFs buying 33,500 Bitcoin this week, while only 3,100 were mined on average. So it seems that the supply shock is coming. You have MasterCard with 1.1 billion users launching a global stablecoin payment system supporting wallets and cards. I can go on forever about all of these people that are buying it. GameStop will be buying $6.5 billion worth of Bitcoin. Brazil's largest bank, ITAU, to fund new MicroStrategy copycat called Orange, and they will start with buying 200 million worth of Bitcoin. And this isn't like Brazil; it's a random company in Brazil. You have El Salvador that buys a Bitcoin every day. So I don't see how these don't eventually, create a giant squeeze. But speaking of risk, so me and a buddy of mine were having a conversation the other day about Dfinity, because he's got a fair amount, and saying like, I don't know if you heard of Ripple buying prime broker Hidden Road. You hear about that?
No.
So they bought Hidden Road at a $1.25 billion valuation, and they are kind of a competitor of Dfinity Markets. And it's not public what they were making, each month or each quarter or each year. But assuming it was like a 20x, of their earnings, let's say they were doing, 60 million per year, Dfinity will be making probably 12 to 15 million per year by the end of this year. And it seems that they will probably be bought at some point, or at least will get offers to be bought in the 9 figures, so in the hundreds of millions. And somebody asked, like, hey, is there a chance that when they get bought, what happens to the token? I was like, well, they can make a deal for the tokens, or they can buy the company and they can abandon the token. It seems to me that because Dfinity and Manu have a pretty large percentage of that, I don't think they would do that. But what are your thoughts on that type of risk? And I guess the same could technically happen for VeVe and Omi. You could have a Tesla or an Apple. Like, I guarantee, like I'm telling you guys, VeVe got offers last time to get bought out. Obviously, they did not take any of that. They didn't even take the offer or any offer to sell like a piece of their company, like 10%. I don't think David and Dan do that this time. I think if they get an offer for somewhere in the 10 figures, I don't know if they say no this time, because they've been through hell. And you know what happens to the token. Now, obviously, I know David and Dan, and they're good. They're not going to screw everyone. And I know Manu, and I don't think he's going to screw anyone. But there's a greater than 0% chance that happens. And I just kind of want your thoughts on that type of risk, or what happens if towards the end of the year there's going to be people throwing billions and tens of billions of dollars everywhere. Want your ideas?
Yeah. So here's something that here's a prediction for you guys. There's going to be a lot of acquisitions that happen where traditional finance companies are going to buy crypto companies, right? Just kind of like Nike bought Artifact during the NFT rush, right? You're going to see that with traditional finance companies buying crypto companies, buying these companies that make sense for whatever business that they're trying to get into and doing that. So there's going to be some pretty big acquisitions. That's prediction number one. Prediction number two is you really are going to see the price of Bitcoin pump. And again, like I already talked, like I said, you can go back and watch those videos in 2023, in June and July and August, where like I really start talking about all of these catalysts that are happening. More catalysts are happening right now to pump the price of Bitcoin above what it's been at, right? I mean, you still have the Bitcoin halving that already happened, right? But that was a big deal. The Bitcoin halving was a big deal, right? Because it does create this supply shock. And normally what you've seen is that the price of Bitcoin hits a new all-time high 12 to 18 months after that. So here's the thing is, now that's historically, that's what's happened. There's been some big events that have happened that could change that, right? That timeline of the 18 months, but like that Bitcoin having happened last year, right? Right? Or am I? Yes, in 2024, yes. In like April of 2024, April or May. So you got like historically Bitcoin hit an all-time high 12 to 18 months out. So we're around that 12 months. Obviously, it already has hit a new all-time high from where it was before, but I think it's going above that for some of the catalyst reasons, right? Of the fact that now you're going to get regulation that's going to clarify what companies can and can't do, right? And like or even around like what's a security and what's not a security for some of these tokens. That's a big deal. But you're also starting to see a lot of this technology really start to make sense and start to be used. And that's where you're going to get those acquisitions that are going to happen. And on top of that, you're going to get more and more countries and or states that are going to have a Bitcoin reserve. All of these things, right, like in and of themselves might not matter much. But when you put them all in combination, it really starts to create this swell, right? Think about that, like this wave coming and the more and more water is added to it. And by the time like it hits that reef, I mean, that thing could just swell and just be this massive, massive wave. And that's what I think is going to happen. I think that this next, like there's some people, and this is what's so funny. You get these YouTubers with big channels and they just like, they're like a willow in the wind, man. They just bend to like whatever. Like so many of them are like, oh, we've already hit, like the bull run's over. Literally like 2 weeks ago, I was hearing that the bull run was over. It's done. It's done. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, that doesn't make any sense with all of this stuff that's going on that I'm seeing here. Like, at least make a logical argument as to why, right? Like, walk me through that thought process. And they're not doing that, right? All they're saying is like the price, listen, normally by this time, this is what's happening, da-da-da. And it's like, okay, but like you're still not talking about all of these other things that could have a significant impact on the price moving forward. Like talk about that, right? They're not. And those are the people that I'm just like I don't trust you. You're not a good investor. You didn't make your money off of investing in crypto. You made it off of being an influencer in the crypto space, which is very, very different, right? And so, I mean, going back to like these acquisitions and VeVe and selling the company and the risk that's associated with it. There is risk, but here's the thing. You've got to think about when these companies, they make an evaluation to make the offer on how much to purchase the company for. They're accounting for a lot of users that are tied to OMI. So if they buy VeVe and then they drop OMI, they better realize that they're going to upset a significant portion of the core community that will walk away, right? They'll feel betrayed and they're just like, I'm never touching this again. Maybe I don't sell my VeVe collectibles. I'll hold on to those or something like that. But like, I'm not buying anything ever again from that. And like, you got companies are like, we're paying a premium, right? We're paying a premium for customers. So for example, when a bank acquires another bank, one of the biggest premiums in that is the deposit relationships that they have, because it costs a lot of money to get and acquire those depositors. And they need those depositors because that's what they make their loans off of, right? And so like, it's going to be the same thing with this business, is like they're buying VeVe off of the cash flows and the customer base, right? So if all of a sudden they're going to buy it and they're going to cancel the token, they're not going to do anything with the token, they're literally cutting off their legs in that. And so like, does it make sense? Not for VeVe, not for Acomi, maybe for Definity. I don't know how big the holders are of Definity. I have Definity, but is that a bigger risk maybe because the community isn't so big? And who are the users really of their services? Traditional finance companies, right? That is a bigger risk. So I would say Definity is a bigger risk, but also the market cap on the Definity is quite small. And then when you look at the acquisition and what they can do, here's the interesting thing. If they acquire them and do nothing more with the token, but they don't announce that they're not going to do anything with the token, the price will pump significantly just based on the FOMO and that narrative that will hit. So
agreed. I mean, it's at 2.6 now, which is still really low, but it was at 1.3 cents like a month or so ago, and it's like I wish I would have just stacked a little bit more. Also, Tesla's really more of a software company. Really, more accurately, it's about a dozen different companies rolled up into one. And I think that it might behoove them, or really more SpaceX, to get into digital collectibles, because that's one of those things that they would be able to go in and just have that recurring revenue. As I agree, the company needs an existing customer base, yeah. But yeah, buddy, mine just asked that about Definity the other day, because it's like, hey, what happens? And I'm like, well, I don't know, but I would expect that that Manu does right by his peeps. Anyway, moving on here, we've had oh God, where's our messages? Here it is. Do you know what log X is?
like logarithmic X, like the function?
No. So they're a company. They're on X. They have like 250,000 followers. They're an exchange, and they had this tweet the other day saying like, "Hey guys, there's no listing fee. Y'all can list on here. Just give us liquidity so we can list it, and that's it." And I had a couple of people message me about it, saying like, "Hey, this could be like a slam dunk for VeVe. There's no listing fee," but they still would have had to provide liquidity for it. So it's a decentralized exchange. Outside of it being a Uniswap like DEX pool on base, I didn't really see much of a difference in it. But then I did kind of get some pushback on people saying like, well, they have all this stuff. What are they waiting for? And even if they could go on and launch on, I think Aerodrome actually Renegade listed them, but they could go launch on LogX. They can go launch on a dozen different things like LogX, but it still costs them liquidity. It still costs them stuff. They want to have market makers. It still costs different things, especially a lot of time. And I don't see that many people using it. And I know we talked about it last week. When should they do like a Coinbase type thing? And we'd all agreed that it's better if they wait. But what do you think about launching on smaller exchanges first? For me, it seems that they're going to waste a lot of time and money. And if there's no people that are going to buy on these smaller exchanges, it's kind of a waste. But maybe that's the better thing to do, where you start off small and then you at least turn sentiment around. What do you think?
No, I don't think. Now, listen, if the narrative starts heating up, that's when you do the smaller exchanges, right? Like you don't do it now when there's not a lot of people paying attention. I mean, listen, Stacker, the OMI to NFT, that's one of the biggest things out there. You can buy Disney, Marvel, like all of these major IPs for crypto, for OMI. Like that's a big deal. Look at the OMI price. Like it's not going to have the effect right now that it needs to. Now, if like digital collecting NFTs were in the narrative right now, and then you did this, it would have a significant impact on the price, in my opinion, right? And so exchanges and things like when I've seen tokens do really, really well is when there's hype around the token and then they start building up these listings and exchanges. And they're like, oh, it's on this exchange, and it's on this exchange. And because the eyes are on it, then people use those exchanges to do that, right? But like if the eyes aren't on it, it doesn't matter who you list it. They could list on KuCoin. KuCoin's a pretty big exchange. I don't think it would do much for the price of the token. It might pump a little bit, but it'd probably fall right back or just like a little bit above where it was before. And how much money would that have cost them? Now, listen, guys, here's another prediction. Mark my words. I think that with the advent of this pro-crypto narrative that the Trump administration has and like the friendly way that like things are being approached, I believe that Ecomi and David Yu are going to start being a lot more active talking about the token. And I say that because I'm already starting to see signs, right? Didn't David, I don't know what video is he on. Wasn't he wearing an Ecomi, like an O hat, right? A red O hat. When's the last time that you saw David wearing an Ecomi hat? How long ago was that?
It was 2 years ago when Ben interviewed him at Binance.
2 years. Why is he wearing it now? Why is he wearing it now? And he was in a Twitter space, right? And he started talking about the token. When's the last time, if ever, well, not if ever, but like the last time in the last several years, have you heard of David Yu jumping into a Twitter space talking about the Ecomi token? I think that there's a big reason for it. And so I think that there is now going to be a push to start getting it out there more. We now have Omi to NFT, which is one of the biggest utilities. And I said this, you can go back and look, and I said one of the things that I think is going to have to happen before the team really starts talking about the token is they have to have the utility rolled out. This is one of the biggest utilities that this token offers, is to buy the majority of their IP, which will be all of it at some point. He just says that they've got to sign some more. It's just like documents that they need to sign, but like no one's saying, no, I don't want this to happen, right? So at some point, they're going to have 95 to 100% of all of their IP being able to be purchased with the Omi token. So I think that this year they're going to be ramping up. There's going to be a lot more talking. They're going to that NFT conference, and Stacker is going to be there. You think that they're like, why would Stacker be there unless they're going to be talking about something about Omi, right? And the use case of a Web3 marketplace, right? That Stacker is. Why would they be spending this money to go there? I just want you guys to start picking up those breadcrumbs that are going there, right? And like, listen, I love Randy, and Randy does a ton of speculation, right? Where sometimes it'll be so out there that I'm like, nah, bro, I don't see it, right? But this stuff for me, this is real stuff that I think people need to be paying attention to, and the people who pay attention to it, right? And this is just about the Omi token, but there's other tokens out there. You're paying attention. If you're watching DevvExchange and you're listening to what they're talking about, and you're looking at like what some of these companies, right, that DevvExchange could potentially be partnered with, that are all of a sudden being very, very proactive and reaching out and saying like, hey, we want to, like, here's our thoughts on some of this crypto regulation and where things should be going, and here's why. And you're like, oh, that's interesting. You're specifically talking about these things and saying this needs to be taken care of. And that's kind of like what DevvExchange does. Again, like there's all of these breadcrumbs out there, guys. That's all I'm saying. So pay attention to those or listen to us. And at least take into consideration those breadcrumbs as you make decisions for yourself.
Subscribe. Yeah, I agree. There's not really too much to add to that. Just David did start mentioning the token again like 2 months ago, maybe, but has only really talked about it like 5 or 6 times in those last couple months. But again, didn't mention it for years. Like for years, did not mention it. So, I mean, now you have. There's not much left that needs to happen. The ruling on the lawsuit, the trade war to end, rates to be cut. All of this is coming likely in the next few months. It's going to be a beast. Did you want to go in and what else did you want to talk about before we end it and talk on camera for a bit?
Hey, for any of you guys, it's interesting. I made a tweet. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Comics and Cryptos, like the bounties that they have. They've got a couple bounties out there. One of them is for the one that just dropped today, right? Red Guardian. So that there's $1,000 bounty on Red Guardian that has not been pulled yet. So, but then there's another one for
X-Men #2.
You're okay. I was like, yeah. X-Men #2. X-Men #2. That was listed for Omi. It's
There's
not
an auction.
No, there. You know what? I don't think Stacker has an auction option yet.
Oh, is it on VeVe?
It's on VeVe now.
Oh.
It is an auction on VeVe, and like I'm always interested, right? And I'm like, I haven't followed all of their bounties. I know that they claimed some, and that sometimes like people have outbid them because they've kind of set a floor for it. But I just checked, and that auction is there.
Hey, John, no lie in there, John. We just got to. I'm deleting that comment because that was a lie. You can say funny stuff, but no lie. Sorry, keep going. You don't know.
Oh, I didn't see.
Now you're good.
Dingby. No, anyways, but that X-Men #2, 1963 is out there on auction, and Comics and Crypto literally put in the bid for the 2,000 gems. It's pretty cool to see, man. It's pretty cool to see, like, I don't know, like to see these people who believe in it so much that they're putting some serious money where their mouth is, right, on these things, and also like the value of special mint numbers, and what's interesting too is that Red Guardian also came out in 1963, right? So like if they get that too, if someone pulls that and they sell it, like I mean 1963 is a pretty crucial year, and I wonder how many mints they're going to get with that. But anyways. Anyone who's interested in special mint numbers, that's out there.
Yeah, they did okay. So they had, let's see, 812, 1,063. So that is 1,196 plus. So it's 12. So they have 1,247 left out of the 2,000 that they had. So they did it. Let's say they kept about 300, 1,240. So they had, so they sold about 500. So they made about 5K on the drop, which is not a ton, but they just didn't have a lot of supply there, which is fine. So I might.
How did you check it out? How do you check out the supply on something?
So they go in, and if you just go on the latest drops and you click on it, it'll show like the latest edition or the total editions, which is 2,000. And then you scroll down and then you get to see how many are left. And then you scroll this way and it shows you how many.
Add them up.
Yeah. So it shows you how many are left for each one. So I minted a couple of the X-Men #2s. And I got a secret rare, which was really cool. So I think I sold that for like $70. And then I tried a little more just to get that mint. I didn't get it. Somebody else got it, obviously. But yeah, I like to gamble on this type of stuff. It's cool. And then at the end of the day, if you get a secret rare, maybe make a little money. I don't know if I'll gamble on this one. I will do a little bit of gambling tonight at 3 a.m. when they come out with Planet Death. So Planet Death is a... No, I'm not.
Don't tell me about Planet Death. No, tell them about Planet Death.
Okay. So Planet Death is something that I didn't know about, but Sean from Comics and Crypto had posted on Facebook before about saying that it's this really awesome comic, sold like 600-something thousand copies. It's like the biggest indie comic like ever. And it's coming out on VeVe tonight. And there's only 1,000 of these that are coming out, or 990 because VeVe keeps 10. And will I bet the farm on it? No, but will I get a few of them? Yeah, I'll get a few of them. I haven't read it, but apparently, like you don't sell 600,000 copies without it being pretty freaking good. So I'm gonna go get that bread. I don't know if I wasn't supposed to.
No, I was just joking. Comics and Crypto has like a big tweet about it. You guys can go look at it. But yeah, I just know that there's probably going to be some stiff competition, and it's just like I'm on the East Coast too, Randy. I'm in a hotel right now on the East Coast. I got to tell you this story.
Yeah.
Actually, So like I'm on the east coast of Florida, right by the beach, and so I'm all excited to like get to the beach and stuff. And I get out there, and there's like this walkway that leads up to this beach. It's kind of like this wooden bridge or whatever, and it goes straight, and then there's like a curve to go down into the beach, right? So at this curve, there was this girl, and then me and my coworker, we were like out there. We were just like looking at the beach and stuff. And so then I asked this girl, I was like, hey, you know, do you live around here? And she's like, yeah, I've been like, I moved from Georgia. I've been here for 3 years and stuff. And I was like, okay, so like, you know, this beach pretty well. She's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, are there sharks around here? And she's like, yeah, but you don't really see them. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then I was like, hold on. Like when you say you don't really see them, I took that to mean that like you don't really see them around here. But is that what you meant? And she's like, oh, no. You see them around here, like, but you don't see them. Like the water's too murky. So you just don't see the sharks. And I was like, no, that's not good. I'm like, I want to see the sharks coming, right? Like if there's a shark, I want to see it coming so that I can freaking try to get out of the water or punch it in the nose or something like that. What I don't want is that there are sharks and that you can't see them, which is exactly, you know, and so that like, I was like, that's a little crazy. And so I was like, hey, do you know anyone? Like, you've been here for 3 years. Do you know anyone who's got like bit by a shark? And she was like, no. And I was like, oh, okay. So anyways, I go back to the hotel and I was talking to him and like the people at the check-in. And I was like, do you guys know, like, have you guys heard of anyone getting bit by sharks? And this guy was like, oh yeah, like there's a dude, like he definitely got like his calf bit. And he's like, but the crazy thing is with sharks too, is like, it's not like a clean bite off, right? It's like, they like latch on and they just like slowly saw your calf off as they just, and I was like, I was like, maybe I won't go in the water. But here's another interesting thing. As I was walking down the beach, I saw all of these beached jellyfish, dude. Like, you know how sketch
like
that is?
Alive or
No, but it doesn't matter if they're alive or dead. Like,
they still sting even though they're dead?
Bro, there's still venom like in the stingers. It's not like the venom just like, I mean, I'm sure it dissipates over time as they like dry out or whatever like that. But like, think about this, like you kill a bee and then you take the stinger and you sting yourself. Like, you're still getting the venom from the stinger, right? Like, it's not like the venom goes away. Yeah. And so like, dude, I got to be careful out there. But I was like, well, I know that depending on the jellyfish, you know, the stings can range from like kind of like an itchy, mild annoyance to like you're going to the ER, right? Like, and talking to the people at the front desk, they're like, oh no, like yeah, like these ones, if you step on that, like you're gonna go to the ER. It's just like freaking Florida, man. What's up with your beaches? Like that's jacked. You got sharks and jellyfish just like on the beach. It's messed up.
That's a no for me, dog. Have you seen the viral question about could 100 people take on a girl? Okay, so
I knew what you were going to ask as soon as you started saying that.
What are your thoughts? I need to know what you think.
Dude, I have actually, and I think that this is like a guy thing. Like, I don't know, right? Where we're just like, could we take a gorilla? Could we take a gorilla, you know? And like, I think that we would be like 100 guys is a lot. Like, it's a lot of guys, you know? And so I would give it a percentage chance, probably around a 70% chance that they could take the gorilla. 70% chance, maybe 65% chance. Like, dude, gorillas are no freaking joke. And so, like, if the gorilla can run, right? Like, if the gorilla can kind of escape to where, like, you can't surround that gorilla, it's a 0% chance, man. 0% chance. Because they could take 10 guys at a time. You know, like, the only chance is, like, you got to have that dude surrounded, right? And you're just, like, poking eyes or doing something, right? Like, just injuring it enough. Like, I mean, because they're freaking muscular. Like, punching's not going to do anything to it, honestly. Like, you've got to get the eyes and get it injured there. But, like, if it's just, like, your bare hands, like, unless you can surround that thing and just, like, it gets exhausted, you know? with the 100 guys that coming at it, like that's the only chance. But like if it can kind of escape or kind of like run around and stuff, no chance.
I don't. So my blueprint on this is if we're getting like guys from like 18 to like 45, 50, then it's like, okay, we could do that. But if we're getting like 12-year-olds and 75-year-olds, that they're just done. But if a few of them are like punch, I know you said like a punch's not going to do it. Like maybe from like a normal like desk jockey, Fortnite video game playing, someone that's like never done like a push up before, yeah, their punches aren't going to do anything. But if you get like some people that you don't even have to be like a super strong like lifter, if you can like throw a punch, and you get a decent amount of guys doing that, and like I get it. Gorillas, I don't think can punch real hard, but they can legit pull down a thick branch of a tree like it's nothing. So they could probably rip your arms off.
Randy. They will legit rip the arms off the strongest man in the world. Like,
yeah. Okay. So they'll do that, and they'll do that pretty easily.
Yes.
But I don't know, and I don't know if we're allowed like sticks or anything, or if we're in just a large plane.
Changes. If we've got weapons, that changes everything. But if it's just like 100 men, no weapons, like, and yes, like, so Big A says 100 men win. Gorilla has strength but doesn't have stamina. Like,
that's
men
true.
don't have a lot of stamina either, though. Like I mean, no, okay. He's saying to fight for hours. Think about this, though, right? How long are these UFC fights? How many rounds of how many minutes?
The championship ones are 5-minute rounds, and that is
with breaks.
So I'll say this, that most newer guys that I've trained in boxing cannot hit the bag for 3 minutes. Like they can barely hit the bag for like 30 seconds before they're winded. So I get that.
Right.
But maybe I'm just romanticizing like that. What's that called? The abominable human spirit, or the indomitable human spirit, where they just I don't know if you've seen those videos.
Indomitable.
Yeah.
Not abs, not abdominal. The stomach spirit of men. The stomach spirit of men. It's undefeatable.
Have you seen those videos though? It's like you have these, and there's people that are better than me, but say like picture you're like a freaking saber-toothed tiger 200,000 years ago, and you just or you're a mammoth, and you see these, you weigh a ton, and you see these little tiny specks of you, and you just jack one of them because you can. You're not even hungry. You just want to show, like, they're in your hunting space, and you just dominate one. You rip them to shreds in front of them, and then like a few weeks later, you see them again, and like, what are they doing? Wait, do they have a fur of one of me on them? How the heck did they get? It must have been an old guy. It must have been an old person. And then they have these little weird sticks, and like, what are they going to do with sticks? And they throw them at you, and no other animal in the entire human, like even chimps, they can't throw anything, right? They're horrible at it. And they throw, and one hits you, and it's like, oh my, that cut me. Like, they hit me from over there. And they're like, I don't know what this is. I don't know what type of weird magic. So I'm going to run, because they're slow. They run like 15 miles an hour, and you could run like 40, and you run for like a half a mile, and then they're still behind you. Like, okay, I'm going to just run so fast. And then they're still behind you. And it's like, what are these freaking things? They're bipedal, they're on 2 feet, and then you're running to the point of exhaustion. You're breathing out, you're not breathing in, and these things are still coming at you. You have ran for hours, for miles, and what they're doing is they're wearing you down until you're at the point of exhaustion. You can't even lift a paw to defend yourself. They are just jabbing you and poking you, and they start eating you, right? Like, you're not even dead yet. And I don't think they'd probably cook them at that point. But I don't know. I just have this real romanticism for that indomitable human spirit, and what they just, I don't know. You ever see like the original like Predator, Carl Weathers got an arm chopped off, and he's still going at him. He's still going at him with one arm just done. And I just that will and want to just die bleeding on the battlefield. I don't know. I want that so bad.
So here's the difference though, right? And what, like, I get that, and I'll tell you what, man, human beings are capable of some incredible things. Like you hear about these stories about Navy SEALs, right? And basically they're shot and they're just holding their ground and just taking out tons of bad guys, right? But let me tell you another story, right? And this is where it matters, right? So although like it would very much depend, like, what's the incentive, right, for these 100 men to live and say that they were the ones who took out this gorilla? What's the incentive? Because the fight for the gorilla is its life. Now, I understand that these men are also like, hey, like, and I think it would be different if it was like, okay, gladiator, right? There's 100 gladiator men and they're stuck in there with gorilla, and it's like, you know, if you survive, you get to live, and you're forced into that. That's a different scenario than, hey, here's this challenge. Can you 100 men be tough and take out this gorilla, right? Like, because basically, like in the gladiator scenario, like you're going to die, where these guys are like, I can run away, right? And this is the story I'm going to tell you. This is awesome. So one of my most favorite historical characters of all time is William Wallace, right? And Braveheart does a pretty good job. It does a pretty good job. The movie does a pretty good job of it. But literally, this guy was insane. So here's this story that's not told in Braveheart. So William Wallace did a lot of guerrilla warfare, right? Because at the time, like, the English army was the most feared army in the world, right? Highly trained, highly armored, all these things. And like, he just had a lot of like ruffians, you know? Like, I mean, sure, they kind of knew how to fight, but like a lot of his tactics were his guerrilla warfare, right? Where he would surprise these larger armies and stuff. So at one point in time, there's this army coming out of this castle, right? And like, and now a lot of these men, like coming from England, they were paid soldiers, right? Like they're paid. Whereas you got William Wallace and his men, they're fighting for their freedom in their country, right? So again, that's a very different mindset of like why you're fighting. So William Wallace's army is about a fourth the size of this army. Okay, they're not armored, right? They have weapons and things, but they surprise attack. They surprise attack this army, and basically what happens is, as they're going, Wallace knows, he's like, listen, if we can take down the leader of the army to where the army feels like, hey, like this is the guy who's going to pay us. If he goes down, we're not even guaranteed pay anymore. Right? So he takes down the leader of the army, and everyone starts retreating to the castle. Again, this is like a fourth the size of the army. Like his like guerrilla guys are like taking out this army, and they're all running away. Even they're like, honestly, if they stood their ground, they would have demolished William Wallace's army. But there was fear, and these people were willing to fight to the death, and these other people are like, I'm not going to get paid, and that's why I'm here. Right? So they all start retreating. Now, here's where the story gets insane, and this is where I want to point to, like, when we're talking about the gorilla and the fight for its life and what it means, right? And the fear is, so Wallace puts on the armor of this guy. He throws on this guy, just like rips the armor off this guy and throws it on himself, and he jumps on a horse and he starts retreating with the English army back into the castle by himself. Now, by this time, he had a name for himself. He'd made a name for himself. And the English were really afraid of him, right? So he gets into this castle. They close the bridge. And he's inside the castle with all of these armored soldiers. And he rips off his helmet. And he's like, I am William Wallace, and I demand you surrender this castle to me, or you will all die this day. Right? And like, logically, you'd be like, no, I think we could take you, right? I think we got you. They surrendered the castle to him because of this fear of his legend, right? And here's where I'm going to say with this gorilla, you get 100 men, and those 100 men see guys' limbs literally ripped off their body and their faces bitten off. I wonder how much gumption those men are going to have at that point to continue the fight, right? Or do they get scared and they're freaking out? So, my dude, William Wallace is freaking the bomb, dude. Like you should read his history. It's so crazy, so crazy. There is a reason why they literally like quartered him, right? Like with horses, and then put his limbs all over Scotland, right? Because of the damage that he did, and they had to try to disrupt his legend of what he was, right? Oh, so crazy. But anyways, back to that gorilla, man. Like that gorilla is fighting for his life, and at some point, does he create a big enough legend of himself in that fight to where just the mindset of 100 men are just like, I can't. If I make the wrong move, like literally, my arm is gone, my leg is gone. Like, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see.
That's a good point. I wasn't thinking about the reactions of people where you see the guy in front of you's like arm just snap off, or the gorilla just taking a giant chunk out of their back and shoulder. They just bit him and just, yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't thought of the reactions of people. You have some people that just freak out of the sight of blood and they freak out. Yeah, so that's fair. Yeah, I guess we'll never know.
Probably not.
One day.
Not.
This was a fantastic way to end this. So I definitely want to talk off camera about a couple of things, but yeah, this is a fantastic way to end it. Guys, I'm glad y'all are here. I love talking to y'all each week. Sleeping that's here for the Gorilla Talk. I love all of you. Everyone say bye-bye to Dashi. Bye-bye. Bye, guys.
Peace out, fam.